Now with us is George Ramsey, another candidate in the 1st District to take on Rod Blum. How are you this evening?
I'm good.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, good to be here.
One of the questions I have is I am concerned about the separation between religion and government. A lot of people call it separation of church and state. We're starting to notice that a lot of times it's not the churches, it's lawmakers that are religious that try to weaponize their religion to go after their certain agenda. Do you consider yourself to be a strong supporter of the separation of church and state? And what exactly does that mean to you?
Well, when I think if you talk about being a strong supporter versus whether or not I support a separation for church and state, then I would certainly say yes, I do support the separation from church and state. I think it's important certainly for government not to influence our beliefs. I think it's important for people to be able to believe how they want to believe, whether they do believe in a higher power or whether they don't, should not be a part of the government's responsibility to be involved or to dictate.
Sure. On the state level here, the recent 6-week abortion ban is an example of what happens when religious belief, especially a very narrow version of it, is allowed to dictate the will of the entire state. Where do you draw the line between a person's right to hold deeply held beliefs and another person's right to live their life how they see fit?
Well, I think every person should be able to live their life of their own. And you know, certainly this decision by Iowa's legislature and then of course the governor's decision to sign into law a 6-week abortion ban really hinges upon that ability for there to be a separation over whether one person is more moral than another. And so anytime we allow morality to decide for us how we should live our lives and put that morality into law, then it becomes a really slippery slope, I think, for all Americans. And we already know that there are varying types of religion. People believe in their God or Allah or the things that we believe in. So where do we draw the line? Where our moral beliefs begin to determine for us how we should act as individuals or be able to really understand what's more important for our bodies and our health care than the way that those who don't believe that we're morally just in being able to make those decisions for ourselves.
It's a good segue into my next question. With the recent Religious Freedom Restoration Acts, the RFRA laws, as they're commonly referred to, do you see them as weaponized religion that allows business owners to discriminate against people? Would you stand up against that? If you were to win in November, would you try to speak out against that and to try to get Congress to understand that that's not what RFRA laws were meant for?
Yeah. I think any business that is licensed to do business in this country, whether they are licensed by our state or a federal government, should be open to every citizen, regardless, not just based on their religious beliefs, but also should not discriminate based on color, should not discriminate based on gender, and so we see that really happening so much more in our country today. But if we're going to certainly license people to be able to do business, there should be no business that can decide for themselves what type of customer they're going to serve, and then choose that solely based on religion, sex, or race.
I have 2 more questions, and I'll let you get back to the campaign trail. As an atheist, too, I'm concerned that $71 billion goes to supporting churches with tax breaks, while the rest of us foot the bill. Would you consider speaking out against this or requesting that Congress review this policy?
Well, that's something that I would probably have to review. And so certainly I think that, you talk in terms of whether or not Congress should review that bill. I would have to have more information. I know that, growing up in the church myself, my church has always been a nonprofit and has certainly, benefited from certain exemptions because of that status. How much that impacts our federal government or how much it impacts our citizens, I'm not really sure.
Sure.
And it's certainly something that I would want to look further.
Are you aware that they don't have to fill out IRS Form 990?
I am aware of that.
Does that concern you at all?
But they do if they employ, if they have employees that are on their payroll. And so many churches today do have employees that work full-time on their payroll and are required to be able to do that.
Last question, and I really appreciate you taking the time. During tonight's event, the issue of church-state separation was not brought up, unfortunately. On top of that, any indication about atheists being on the rise, or the rise of the non-religious wasn't unfortunately brought up. You don't see it too common, so I totally understand it. With that said, atheists and secular voters are on the rise in Iowa, especially in the 1st District. What plans do you think you can put into place going forward in these next couple of days and weeks to try to appeal to them and earn their vote? Do you feel like there's any way that you can get us to the table and hear what we have to say in your speeches, at your town halls, in your campaign pieces?
Well, I'd ask you a couple of questions. One, do atheists, are they concerned about health care? Are they concerned about ensuring that their children don't just have access to a quality education, but are getting one? Are they concerned about the infrastructure, and ensuring that our roads are safe and that you can live a healthy, prosperous life? All of those things I don't think have anything to do with what God we believe in or whether we don't believe in a God. And so to those atheists, or to those who will watch this video and say to themselves, how will he connect with me? How can he ensure that our voices are going to be heard? What I will say to you is that we may differ in our spiritual belief, but where we are the same is in the things that we want to see happen that are going to help us build a stronger Iowa and create a brighter future for all Iowans, regardless of our spiritual beliefs. And so those are the things that I want to connect with all voters in this district on over the next 24 days, and certainly as we go into the general election in November.
I have a small favor. Earlier you mentioned you're a veteran.
Yes.
There are many, many atheists in foxholes. There are, in fact, atheists serving right now. Do you have a message for them?
Well, look, thank you for your service is my message to them. When you're fighting in battles, we don't often think about those things. When we're standing next to someone in that foxhole. I've served with certainly all sorts of people. I've served with atheists. I've served with Catholics. I've served with Baptists. I've served with people who come from varying faiths, and with those who think certainly and believe the same as you. And at the end of the day, it's our service to our country that we rely on, and that to me is what I think is most important.
Wonderful. How do voters reach out to you? How do they learn more about you?
If you want to reach out to me, you can do just like you did today. You can tag me on Facebook if you like, or you can send me a direct message on Facebook. But you can also go to my website. My website is ramseyforuscongress.org. I have several ways that you can reach me through the website. Either click on the contact button, or you can go directly to my Facebook link and be able to send me a private message. My phone number is also on the website for those that want to call, 319-377-7388. You can call me, and I'm usually there in the office a lot of times to be able to answer the calls. But then if you want to send an email, simply email me at info@ramseyforuscongress.org. So I've got a number of ways for people to reach out because we want to make sure that we're as accessible as we possibly can to be able to reach voters.
Twitter, Instagram?
I am on Twitter, Ramsey for Iowa on Twitter. We didn't put the campaign on Instagram, but we are on Twitter. Simply go to hit me up, mention me if you possibly can. Somebody who's watching this tonight, if you want to hit Ramsey for Iowa and say that you saw the video, I would love it. Just use a hashtag for me that says Stronger Iowa, Brighter Future, or People Powered, PPL Powered, and that'll be all you have to do.
Mr. Ramsey, I appreciate your time. I'm sure all the atheists and non-religious around Iowa and the world that are watching this enjoyed this as well. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being involved in our electoral process. Thank you for believing in our democracy, and certainly for those who will make a decision from watching this video that couldn't make it tonight. I would love your support and certainly would love to have your vote.
Sounds great. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.